My grandpa didn't need a dictionary. He invented his own. Das Dud meant approval, joy, and sometimes even mischief. And if you heard it, you knew you'd done something right. My grandpa's life was a voyage, anchored in the Navy, expanded through the love of 8 children, and tested by the silence of a massive stroke, and carried forward in the laughter we shared together. Firstly, my grandpa served in the Navy during World War II. So my grandpa right here, and this is one of his friends. He was a machinist mate 2nd class on the USS Saunter, which was an admirable class minesweeper. These are little log books that my grandpa had from the USS Saunter. This is actually a page he drew of the motor and the prop in the boat. And I think it's really funny because back here he drew a self-portrait. The USS Saunter served bravely in the Pacific during World War II, but its career was cut short when it struck a mine in the Philippines in January 1945. So the story that I've heard is my grandpa was walking to one of his buddies on the top of the boat when they hit the mine, and right in front of him it blew up, and thankfully that was the only person that lost their life on that boat that day. After the war, my grandpa returned home and met and married my grandma, and they had 8 kids. So this is my grandma and grandpa with their 8 children later in life. On Easter morning in the late 70s, my grandpa suffered a massive stroke, and it was life-altering. He couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, and his whole right side of his body was paralyzed. After months of rehabilitation following his stroke, my grandpa learned to paint. And he painted these barnyard sort of landscape photos, barns and fences, and he painted like a series of 7 or 8 of them, I think. Maybe even 6. And his determination was recognized in an article published in the American Medical Journal. Finally, in 1987, I came along, adding my own chapter to my grandpa's long story of family. This is me and my grandpa. By the time I was born, my grandpa already developed his own language and way of communicating, so I grew accustomed to it, and it was like a second language to me. I remember swinging with my grandpa on his porch swing, this one right here, while he sang to me, and doing yard work while he watched happily from his tractor, and riding through town with him to collect pop cans, and sometimes in his wagon. My grandpa, on his tractor right here, he rode it through town. This is how he got around because he couldn't drive. He'd drive it through his yard, he'd ride it through town, and everybody in town knew him. Everybody in town knew him and loved him. So one thing I will always remember about my grandpa is he used to hide people's stuff on them when they came over, and then forget to give it back. Like, he would ask people to see their IDs because he just wanted to see their picture, and then they'd get distracted talking to my grandma or my uncles or my aunts, and then he'd put it in his pocket here. He always had a pocket, and then he would forget to give it to him, and my grandma was doing the laundry, and he got in trouble. To me, he was simply grandpa, but the town, he was a familiar face to everybody in town. People loved him, and his presence still endures to this day. He was a man who served his country in the Navy, overcame challenges of a devastating stroke, and still found ways to live with resilience, humor, and love. So if you're lucky enough to still have your grandpa, please go sit down, have a cup of coffee with him, or as my grandpa would say, Boppy. Oh, one.